The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. O God, we gather here today to honor and give thanks for St. Andrew's Episcopal School's class of 2015. May these students who graduate this day know that the end of their education here is but the beginning of the larger life of service and the application of what they have learned. May they ever remain learners, pressing on to new goals and discovering new truths. Grateful for the wisdom and the friendship of those who have supported and guided them. We pray that you continue to guide their feet on paths of wisdom and truth, and that they continue to discover and use the gifts that you have given them. Amen. Please be seated.
Welcome, everyone, to the Chair and Chair-elect of the Board of Trustees, Ms. Patty Christie and Mr. Wilson Montjoy, to the Associate Head of School, Mr. Kevin Lewis, to the heads of each of our three divisions, Mrs. Julia Chadwick of the Upper School, Ms. Ruthie Hollis of the Middle School, and Mr. Tim Alford of the Lower School, to our Provost, Dr. Chris Harth, to our chaplains, the Reverend Annie Elliott and the Reverend Kirk LaFawn, and to the St. Andrew's Registrar, Ms. Megan Schluter. We have with us on this wonderful day the families and friends of our graduating seniors, their parents and grandparents, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins and friends. We all know that today would not be possible without the dedication, hard work, and personal sacrifices of the entire St. Andrew's faculty and staff who come to say goodbye to their students of many years. And finally, we are joined today by some exceptional choral singers from our 4th grade who will be on the North Campus next year for the first time, and from our 8th grade who will cross the walk in the fall to join the Upper School. My name is George Peenick, and as head of school, it is my pleasure to welcome you to honor the class of 2015 at this wonderful St. Andrew's Episcopal School's graduation ceremony. Last night at Baccalaureate and today at the end of the graduation service, we sing For All the Saints. This is the official school song of St. Andrew's Episcopal School, and it praises those people who have gone before us to make this a more wonderful world. And there's another hymn that we sing quite often. I sing a song of the saints of God, which talks of saints past, but also speaks of saints present who are alive and with us today. The world is bright with the joyous saints who love to do Jesus' will. You can meet them in school or in lanes or at sea, in church or in trains or in shops or at tea. The point is that many saints who passed away long ago are with us today. And there are also many saints who are alive who are with us today as well. Some of them are your relatives, your friends, as well as your teachers and other adult role models. In reality, at a St. Andrew's commencement, there are faculty members and school leaders who may have retired or died many years ago, but who are true saints and who I believe really are with us today as we celebrate these young people. This is what makes this joyous but solemn graduation ceremony so meaningful. The saints are here, graduating, as are so many others, both alive and deceased, who are with us today as well. We feel their spirit and we feel their presence. Last night at the Baccalaureate, we remembered a Saint, Alan Stallings III, who was a classmate of these graduating seniors, by having the Holy Eucharist said in his memory. Later today, we will remember another saint, Chris Allenberger, who died too young, but whose character and memory continue to affect us deeply today in the most positive of ways. We'll take a break here and ask everyone here to take a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think about all of your saints who are here with you today, whether they are physically present or absent, whether they are alive or have moved on. If you were like me, you had quite a list. During that short period of time, if you thought of someone, that saint is with us today and is positively influencing you and everyone else here. One of my favorite writers in today's world is David Brooks, a newspaper columnist and author of The Road to Character, which is just out. Brooks talks about two sets of virtues, the resume virtues and the eulogy virtues. I quote Mr. Brooks, "The resume virtues are the ones that you bring to the marketplace. The eulogy virtues are the ones that are talked about at your funeral. Whether you are kind, brave, honest, faithful, were you capable of deep love?" He continues, "We all know that eulogy virtues are more important than the resume ones, but our culture and our educational systems spend more time teaching the skills and strategies you need for career success than the qualities you need to radiate that sort of inner light. Many of us are clearer on how to build an external career than on how to build inner character." And as we strive to live our saints, Mr. Brooks brings us his conviction that wonderful people are made, not born, that the people I admired had an unfakeable inner virtue built slowly from specific moral and spiritual accomplishments. It is my hope that in your years at St. Andrews that you have found the strength and support you needed to help you along your path to develop your eulogy virtues. It's my assumption that the reason that specific wonderful people came to your mind today as you thought about them as saints in your lives was primarily because of how you think of their eulogy virtues rather than their resume virtues. We turn now to a meaningful part of the morning where we take a moment to remember a prominent saint in the history of St. Andrew's School, Chris Hallenberger. Just like you graduates, Chris used to sit in the St. Andrews classrooms, play on the St. Andrews playgrounds, and go weekly to the St. Andrews chapel service. In 1985, Chris was diagnosed with leukemia, and he died the next year at the age of 14, having received his 8th grade diploma from his hospital bed. As a tribute to Chris, his family established an endowment to fund both a scholarship in his name, which is presented at the Upper School Award Ceremony, and also the Christian Alexander Allenberger IV Faculty Award. These two awards serve to keep Chris's life alive in the hearts and minds of the St. Andrews family. At this time, we will present the Christian Alexander Allenberger IV Faculty Award, and it is my pleasure to invite Chris's parents, Alex and Susan Allenberger, to come forward. This year, the saint who will receive the Allenberger Faculty Award stands out not just to students and to colleagues, but to the entire St. Andrews family. This faculty member in his own life has experienced extreme challenges and shown remarkable courage. This faculty member makes a point of intentionally touching the life of every student in his orbit. This saint has supported and led efforts throughout the school to benefit not just his own students, but to benefit all students. While he does not suffer fools lightly, every student who wants to grow, develop, improve, and become his or her best receives his undivided commitment and attention, in addition to his firm guiding hand. This saint's faith, his family, and his inner strength have shaped the eulogy virtues for which he is well known. But in addition, he has provided incredible leadership to this school in every arena in which he serves. This year, it is my joy and privilege to present the Allenberger Faculty Award to our beloved and admired faculty member and basketball coach, Brian Cronin. Brian, I need you up here. Here he comes. Thank you, Alex and Susan. Thank you for keeping us connected with your family and Chris's memory. Adele Franks was the first head of St. Andrew's Episcopal School. The Adele Franks Medal for Leadership recognizes the graduating senior who, in the opinion of the faculty, has demonstrated the qualities of leadership, initiative, and creative thinking that was exemplified in the lifelong achievements of one of our own founding saints, Mrs. Franks. By vote of the faculty, this year's Adele Franks Medal for Leadership for 2015 goes to Graham Grogan. Graham, please come forward.
This is you. You've got the mic.
Sorry, I didn't know exactly when I was supposed to do this. Let's hope the wind doesn't blow everything away as well. First off, I'd like to be grateful. As I've said many times before, St. Andrews is a very special place. The school has done more for me than I could ever think about doing in return. St. Andrews gave me a home when I felt alone in a new place, and it has allowed me not only to grow as a student, but as a strong individual. If I had to go back in time and change one thing in my life, I would be more grateful throughout my time here. We are so blessed to have this community around us, and we are so much more fortunate than a good majority of people. Sometimes, as students, I think we forget that, and we neglect to appreciate our environment. Every one of us, and I mean every one of us, is blessed to be able to have the opportunity to be a part of this community. And if anybody thinks otherwise, you are mistaken. I would like to thank my parents, first of all. They were gracious enough to put me through St. Andrews when they could have easily spent less money and sent me somewhere else. And they've always been there for me, through sporting events and everything else that I do. My mom and dad have really lived as examples for me, and I'm blessed to have them as my parents. Second, I would like to thank the school. St. Andrews provides us all with opportunities that no one else in the state has. I can't thank the school without thanking the great people that make it up. I've been so fortunate to have people around me, both faculty and students alike, who care about me as a person and care about my endeavors. The relationships that I've established at this school will last a lifetime, and I thank everybody who's been a part of that experience for me. Today, I'm here to talk to you about this great school and the ideas that it has taught us that will help us as we start our journey to college and as we carry out our lives as productive citizens. A few weeks ago, we had our passing of the light ceremony. In this ceremony, the seniors lit the juniors' candles and symbolically passed on the responsibility of leading the school. Additionally, the service recognized that the graduating class is not putting out their light at St. Andrews. Rather, it is the job of the graduating class to spread their light throughout the world. Now, how do we go about this task? Well, it's not simple. We come from a small community, and we are going to find ourselves in a really big world. How on earth are we supposed to go about making a difference and living a life that is memorable? It's a rather daunting task, and in my mind, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of luck. But most importantly, I believe it takes a certain amount of focus in an area known as perspective. Now, perspective is a very broad term. And today I'm speaking of perspective in terms of the past, present, and future. St. Andrews has taught me a good deal about history, about biology, about math. but it's also taught me a lot of things outside of the academic sphere. At St. Andrews, when you're sleep deprived and your brain hurts because you've been working hard in the class and your body hurts because you've been working hard on the field, I know I'm not the only person that does this, I hope. You sometimes have these philosophical arguments, in your head, and you learn a lot, and you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about life. I've learned a great deal about perspective during my time at this school. Through the struggles of senior year, I've come to realize that in order to be happy in life, I have to be able to hold on to past memories, live in the present, while also simultaneously being able to picture myself in the future. Having the right perspective on time means being able to find a balance between all three of these concepts. One day this past fall, when I was sitting in Dr. Shibling's cloning class, I looked out the window and I realized, wow, everything's about to change. Throughout my years, I've always been a person that doesn't really like change a whole lot. I had a hard time moving from my home in Hattiesburg to my new home here. And at this point in my life, I was having a hard time coming to peace with the fact that this was my last year at St. Andrews. And I noticed that I was really going to miss getting up every day and seeing my friends and being able to play sports with them and going to eat with them after practice. All this stuff won't exist in a few months. I struggled with this idea for a while until I finally came to the realization that all of this stuff really won't end when I graduate. All of my favorite moments will still live on in my memory. We're all going to remember Mikhail absolutely wiping out the school's supply of tissue paper in middle school. We're all going to remember how awesome it was when we were awkwardly standing around in middle school dances with the boys on one side and the girls on the other, and out of nowhere, Randy Love pops out and starts break dancing on the cafeteria floor, and everybody went wild. And we're all going to remember Benny Kirkland knocking out his two front teeth when Avery threw a piece of paper at him and he slammed his head on the desk. And certainly one of my fondest memories was in high school was when we were all sitting around the field at the Jackson Zoo, and we were all together at senior safari and just laughing about all the dumb stuff we had done in high school. Just because we were graduating from high school doesn't mean that it's a sad time when we're supposed to reflect on all the things that we're never going to be able to do again. Rather, our memories will allow us to hang on to our past lives. We'll move on to college and discover ourselves even more and meet new people and find new interests. But our time at St. Andrews will always be a part of us. Thus, we can move on to the next stage of our lives in peace. Although remembering the past helps us move on when we experience change in our lives, we cannot let fond memories turn into nostalgia. Wishing that we could live in past times will only hold us back. After I became content with the fact that I was leaving St. Andrews, I realized that there's a healthy balance between living in the past and living in the present. In order to enjoy my current situation to the fullest, I had to be completely invested in it. I had to stop thinking so much and take the time to appreciate and savor the time I had left in high school. So the second semester of my senior year, I stopped anticipating what my college experience would be like. I stopped worrying about every last bit of homework that I had to get done, and I didn't obsess over making good grades. I wasn't worried about the past or the future, and I'm proud of myself for that. I had not done that very much in my life before, and I realized that I needed that. I spent time with my friends, and I really did try to enjoy myself. This year, I recognized that living in the present is one of the most important things you can do. It is essential to happiness. However, as one cannot live solely in the past, one cannot live completely in the present. If people neglect the past, they become ignorant of past mistakes and de-emphasize responsibility. If people do not think about the future, they lose sight of dreaming and live without ambition. As I emphasize the good in both living in the past and the present, it is equally important to plan for the future. Setting goals, looking ahead, and having expectations of yourself in the future really gives someone a sense of purpose. It gives people motivation and drive to be something better than they were before. Looking to the future also needs to be accompanied by hope. When people are optimistic and see happiness ahead, no matter how terrible their present situation might be, it will give them a reason to live. Dreaming of the next step in life is great, but there is also a limit. I have seen that if I think about what lies ahead too much, I will lose sight of reality. I will always think about what comes next in life, and I will never be able to enjoy my present life. So there's a time for remembering, there's a time for looking ahead in life, And there's a time for forgetting what happened yesterday and not thinking about what will happen tomorrow and investing everything into the current moment. Benjamin Franklin lived by the principle that one has to do everything in moderation and live a balanced life. The more I've lived my life, the more I've seen this to be true. And I really do believe that this applies to perspective. Olivia, Galena, and I did this thing all year where we would issue out challenges to the student body. So, class of 2015 especially, and this can also apply to everyone else, I challenge you to go into the rest of your lives with appropriate perspective. Rely on past memories to help you let go of the physical past. Be able to look into the future and envision bold aspirations. But keep in mind that time is the most valuable asset in the world, and don't forget to live in the present and soak up everything that life has to offer. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Graham. We owe thanks to a number of families of the classes of 2019 and the class in 2023 who, having already completed all of their own division's end-of-year ceremonies, agreed to hold off their summer vacation for a few more days to come and offer their gift of song for the class of 2015. Please welcome their director, Ms. Anna Johnson, and assisted by Mr. Scott Sexton, who will direct these singers in their last school-related act before advancing to their next division. I really appreciate these students hanging on for an extra few days and for the work that the faculty did to make that possible. It's now my pleasure to ask Patty Christie, the chair of the Board of Trustees of St. Andrews Episcopal School, to make the presentation of the Trustees Medal for Academic Achievement. Ms. Christie.
The Board of Trustees Medal is presented by the faculty to the graduating senior who throughout his or her 4 upper school years at St. Andrews has earned the highest cumulative grade point average. This year, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of St. Andrews Episcopal School, it's my great pleasure to present the 2015 Trustees Medal to Olivia Becker. Olivia, please come forward.
Oh, that was really cruel, Miss Patty. Sorry, okay. I'm standing here today on the day of my high school graduation, as is quite obvious by this cap and gown. In addition, though, my little sisters are graduating from middle school, my brother is graduating from college, and my mother is graduating from her MBA program. This means I was granted the rare opportunity to listen to 1,143 names called, but it also meant getting inspiration from, or potentially ripping off, other commencement speakers. What I actually received from these graduations, save middle school, of course, was rather the opposite. These speakers alternatively offered, in about 5 different ways, exactly what not to do in my speech. What I heard from them was haughty, almost condescending accounts of the students' private accolades, somewhat meaningless rambles about why I love this school, monotone addresses that literally made me want to fall asleep, and full coverage of probably every single cliche that comes to mind when one thinks graduation speech. To be fair, it's a pretty difficult task. I'm supposed to stand up here, offer some words of advice or encouragement, avoid snores, elicit a few laughs, maybe a few tears, when I'm literally no more qualified than any of my peers to do the same thing. So I was recently having one of many heart-to-hearts with my spirit guide, Julia Harth, which basically involved me irrationally blabbing about the dread and fear I have for every single facet of college, when she told me, and I'm paraphrasing here, look at it this way. Here's the starting line. Here's you, maybe a little above. Here's everyone else. So, class of 2015, we have finally reached the finish line of high school, go Saints, and are now approaching the starting line for an entirely new race. While this may seem utterly terrifying to some of us, I realize that there is some comfort that can be found in this new journey. It is the fact that we can essentially start over. Pondering this idea, I was reminded of a book we read this year in religion class, Siddhartha, written by Hermann Hesse. The novel starts out with a young man named Siddhartha, a popular, well-liked son of a Hindu Brahmin, the highest priest class. While he appears to have everything going for him, he's actually pretty dissatisfied with his life and seeks further happiness. Deciding he needs a change, he sets out on several journeys in which he joins a group of wandering ascetics called samanas, meets the Buddha, discovers a beautiful courtesan's pleasure garden, and meets his illegitimate son, all leaving him unhappy and still searching for his own discovery of enlightenment. After meeting this impressive group of potential enlightenment illuminators, it ends up being a ferryman who gives him the answers. The almost breaking point for Siddhartha comes when, after immense efforts to please him, Siddhartha's son runs away. After this incident, the ferryman urges Siddhartha to turn to the river for solace, in which he finally discovers, and I quote, "Everything together, all voices, all goals, all yearning, all suffering, all pleasure, all that was good and evil, all of this together was the world." Siddhartha finally achieved enlightenment. This journey actually has a lot to teach us about what lies ahead. Class of 2015, we're about to go on our own paths of enlightenment, and these will most definitely come in many different forms for each of us. Siddhartha began his pursuit after he was grown. Siddhartha was living the life. He had ladies, respects, squads of friends. I would argue that St. Andrews has similarly made us think we're all that. And I'm not really saying it's a bad thing. It's great. But like Siddhartha, there's no way that any of us have actually found the meaning of life and the secret to happiness. Honestly, Who do you know that has actually peaked in high school? No one, except for Zac Efron. But instead of an end, our graduation from high school can be viewed as a new start. So now we're beginning this journey to discover our own forms of enlightenment or happiness. We have a chance to test the waters, if you will. And if we can take anything from Siddhartha, we will have the same determination to discover this thing for which we are all searching. Oh my God, sorry. And this thing is going to be different for everyone. It could be becoming a pro baseball player, getting into medical school, or successfully finishing your entire Netflix queue. And as we can gather from Siddhartha's extensive journey, it's important to realize our path to happiness and success is most likely not going to be immediate or easy. It's going to take some trial and error. And there are going to be some failures along the way. Siddhartha was at his lowest point after his son abandoned him. And we're all going to have that lowest point, where things seem like they are just not going to get better. But just like Siddhartha overcame this difficulty to achieve enlightenment, we are all going to get there too. While we may not all find our answers from a magical ferryman, what I'm trying to describe should be a natural process. I'm very confident that we're all going to figure it out. And it's extremely important to enjoy every minute while it happens, without stressing about what's to come. Siddhartha finally realized that all of his separate journeys led him to finding the meaning of life. I believe that this will be the case for us as well. All of our paths, those that lead us to success and those that lead us to failure, will each add value and importance to our lives. Having looked at Siddhartha's journey, I believe Julia was right. We all have that bit of a head start. We have just completed one very important step, and St. Andrews has made it possible for us to get there. We have all, dare I say it, completed high school. I view this success, some may view it as a failure, but regardless, we're now ready to begin again and find out what our own forms of enlightenment truly are. So to St. Andrews and all of its teachers, faculty, and staff, I want to say thank you for instilling in me and the rest of my classmates not only the tools to go out in the world and find ourselves, but also the comfort and encouragement to actually do so. To parents and friends, thank you for always believing in this ragtag group of graduates. And finally, to my classmates, thank you all for being my biggest fans and each other's. Here's to not knowing what on earth is going to happen to us, but having the confidence that we're all going to be okay.
Now, it is time for which all of you have been waiting, the presentation of the St. Andrews Episcopal School's class of 2015. One member of this incredible class is a living saint who lives in our hearts every day. We all were shaken and heartbroken last year when Robert Gaillet's tragic accident resulted in injuries that he continues to battle. The important thing is that he does continue to battle them. All through this unimaginable ordeal, his parents, his sisters, and his many, many, many friends have continued to have faith, to have hope, to believe in prayer, and to do anything possible to support Robert in his ongoing struggles. Robert is one of our most beloved saints, and he has recovered enough and is continuing to recover so that he could be here with us today. St. Andrews wants to acknowledge the importance we feel of having Robert Gaillet as part of the family of the class of 2015, and at this time I invite Robert's parents, Dan and Bethany Gaillet, on Robert's behalf, to come forward to receive a certificate of attendance from St. Andrews Episcopal School. Thank you so much, Dan and Bethany, for keeping Robert closely connected to his St. Andrews family. We now will present the graduation diplomas to the class of 2015. It is time for you to hear your name called, to retrieve your diploma, to accept the congratulations of Ms. Christie, Ms. Chadwick, and me. When you return to your chair, graduates, I ask that you take just a short moment to yourself, now that all the stress is over, to remember again how grateful you are for all the blessings that you have received from the saints in your life and which have prepared you up to this point to move forward to develop both your resume virtues and your eulogy virtues. I want to invite the members of the class of 2015 to come forward to receive their diplomas as Megan Schluter, Registrar, reads your names.
John Lionel Adams III. Megan Elizabeth Alleman. Morgan Elizabeth Alley. Mary Jean Eliza McKinney Almond. Laurel Alice Arrington. Madeline Elizabeth Arthur. Jordan Curtis Augustine. Audrey Kate Bateman. Olivia Augusta Becker. Lucas Edward Bonner. Carter Andrew Boyle. Madison Ivory Brown. Michael Hudson Callahan. Lily Grace Castle. Cody Ann Christie.
Christie, would you like to do this?
Griffin Anderson Clark. Daniel Peter Reed Cooper. Afton Lottie Elizabeth Cox. Henry Wells Daly. Mary Parker Davidson. Yesenia Tamora Davis. Sarah Chase Dolsky. Joel Alexander Edlin Jr. Lauren Elizabeth Ellison. Christopher Hughes Evans. Catherine Olivia Figman. Chancellor Wayne Flint. Jessica Audrey Garner. Sadie Lewis Gask. Carnesia Rayvon Georgetown. Margaret Mary Gleason. Hubert Wesley Goings IV. Alexandra McGregor Good. Caroline Ellis Good. Graham McClure Grogan. Veronica Noel Guastella. Julia Tidings Harth. Carl Winfield Hatton III. Honey Alexandra Holman. Robert Hunter Icona. Caroline Elizabeth Jaques. Ethel Ann Jones. Benjamin Carr Kirkland. Margaret Elizabeth Cruz. Crawford Dankman Lampton. Jackson Milam Landtrip. Megan Alexis Lee. Andrew McHale Bird Love IV. Joseph Mark McMullen. Michael Brooks Medlin. John Ross Mitchell. Meredith Woods Morris. Catherine Field Morse Gunye. Katone Nishi. Galina Ostrovsky. Darby Parker. William Joseph Rain. Samuel David Richardson. Azan Mohammed Rizwan. John William Robinson IV.
Come on.
Ashley Rose Rabinski. Anthony Joseph Santangelo III. Jackson Keller Sharp. Shika Shrestha. Isabel Chambers Speed. Carrie Denise Stallings. Gabriel Reed Starr. Carolyn James Summerlin. Megan Ashley Tanaka. Anna Grace Teal. Graham Hamrick Turner. Avery Lowry Villaret. Elena Michelle Voisin. William Ira Waddell. Mary Hughes Walker. Jane Ashley Watson. Emily Frances Wells. Zaria Deanna Williams. Alexander Hughes Wilson. Anna Elizabeth Wolf. James Guan Zhong.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the class of 2015.
Let us pray. That's you too, seniors. O God, from whom we come and to whom we go, and by whose will the time between coming and going is time to find ourselves and time to find you. We offer thanks for this time of change, for new knowledge and new friendships and new perspectives in our lives. Help us to remember, help us to become, help us to be of use. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen. We are finished.
We're getting ready to do the hat.